If you had to start over, no network, no business, you didn't know anybody, how would you start?
Am I an adult?
What you know now?
I would, I've concluded in my life I can get a job doing anything, anywhere, anytime. I would get a job, whether that meant selling cars, as I told you I did very well in, and just establish myself and rebuild and save some money and then go from there. I mean, obviously we need money. Money sustains life, right? So we need that to get functioning. But I know I could do anything, anywhere, whether it's labor, knowledge, experience. So I would first secure a job and save money, enough money then to start my own business. And I would live bone bare minimum in a studio. I wouldn't have any lavish things in life, and I'd have enough money to then, okay, whether I start a nutrition company or a training program or anything, but that's what I would start with.
Would the goal be then to have freedom?
Yeah, freedom. And I wish I knew this younger. I didn't have freedom. I was an employee, a W-2 employee. I think the goal is for anyone in their 20s, whether you go to college or not, is create freedom. Whatever that looks like. I mean, like I said, money only facilitates things, but create your own freedom. So that when you're in your 30s and 40s, you're not counting on anyone else.
Time goes by pretty quick.
In a blink of an eye. I just had a birthday pass, and I can get emotional about this. I am now 2 years older than the age my father died. So, like, to me, time flies. I remember when he was dying, I said, man, like, where'd that time go? And now I'm older than, when he passed, which has been 20 years ago. So, but it goes fast. And I tell people in their 20s and 30s now, I said, before you know it, you're going to be 50. Oh, no, my parents are 50. You'll wake up and you'll be 50. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for anybody listening to this, that is him and Han, and understanding that, like, failure is, like, not a big deal.
Oh, for sure. I was facing bankruptcy court when I had my security business because I didn't know how to manage money. Failure, I actually almost think failure is a prerequisite for life. You better fail a couple times. So okay, now I know I'm at a baseline, right? I can go anywhere from there.
Yeah. I think most people are afraid. I mean, I always think it's 50-50, like failure to, or fear of failure or failure of success. And most of the time, neither of them really like end up being what you build up in your head.
Yeah, for sure. We create all these scenarios in our head. And even when I was failed, I mean, I went through a brutal divorce. I was faced with financial challenges that I thought I couldn't. Like, she presented me with a number that I need to pay every month. I was like, I can't do that. She was, yeah, you can. You're a smart guy. She literally would say, you're a smart guy. And I'm living in my buddy's guest room in his house. And I said, I'm a complete failure. And he goes, Bruce, you're okay. Your level of failure is you're making money. You have a gym membership. You're healthy. So we all have different levels of what we think is failure, right?
Your friend told you essentially what your ex-wife told you, just in a different way.
Yeah. And I said, I have to pay her this much money. He goes, you'll be fine. He goes, you're always going to be able to make money. He goes, yes, it's more like, I think, he goes, you're paying a resentment pay is what you're doing. You're resenting that you have to pay her that much, but keep in mind, she helped you build that. So, and looking back now, it was like a payment, like, great. And we're friends now.
Yeah. I can relate. As it's funny you said that, you could get a job anywhere and do anything. And I think you mentioned car sales at lunch and that you were great at that. You are known for relationship building and networking. Where did that start? How did was it car sales that taught you that? Was it, what did that look like?
I think early on, looking back, because now I know a lot more about my father and the time we spent together, he was a relationship guy, even though he was a semi-introvert, Vietnam vet. He was a community builder. Like, he was involved with the city council. He built out the Boy Scout troop. There was a railroad that he was actually named after him because he built this whole hiking trail as a Boy Scout leader. So he did a lot of things in the community, and I always saw him bringing value to other people. So it was relationship building. It was just a different kind.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself like kind of a unifier or network or like community builder?
A little bit. I think the community building came in much deeper for me when I was a police officer. I always gravitated doing these extracurricular things per se. Like there was a DARE program back in the day,
Oh yeah,
youth programs and boxing.
it didn't work for me.
And I felt, and I felt compelled to bring those communities together. And then with Quest, it was easy because then we're building ambassador programs and athlete programs. So I've always had a sense of community, bringing people together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think it's funny because people are so nowadays it's like people are behind their phones,
Yeah.
right? Behind a computer screen, and then they go home and they isolate. It's like isolation is like the highest it's ever been. But then people wonder why they're miserable.
Yeah, it's interesting when I talk to people and they'll say they have a relationship with someone, and then I drill down and say, well, I have a relationship with them on Instagram. What? Like, and I'm behind a computer screen. Have you ever met them? No, but we're friends. Are you really? Yeah, people have a different perspective of what relationship building is now, or it's all online or internet, or like you said, you hide behind a computer screen all day.
So throughout your career, from being, in auto sales for a short period of time and then being a cop, like everything has been in like very personal with you.
Correct.
And then getting into private security, right? Like, a lot about individuals.
Yeah.
And first of all, what made you get into private security other than the obvious of going from law enforcement to that? That's a pretty big transition, but you have to know people to do that successfully.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was a young police officer, and it's all relative, right? I had 2 kids, and I wasn't making enough money as just a police officer, and I ran into a retired sergeant from Beverly Hills PD. I actually went to his house to make a crime report for him. His home had been burglarized, and once again, relationships. An hour into this, he said, Bruce, there's something unique about you. He goes, I own a personal protection business. He goes, I think you might be a good fit. Are you interested in working on weekends or nights when you're free? And I said, yeah. And I had done that in the Marine Corps. I was protecting government officials. And I started working with him, and I just gravitated, and I figured out I didn't have a title then, but I'm a servant leader. I'm quite content serving other people, being behind the scenes. I don't need to be in the forefront. And it just took off. And after about 9 months, I said, John, I'd really like to start my own company. And he was so gracious. He helped me go through the process, which, by the way, I didn't know what starting a business was like. He helped me through the process. And I remember I was telling you at lunch, my friend had a limousine company. I told him, hey, I started this protection business. I don't know what to do. And he introduced me to one client. And because I was a very good servant leader and provided a service that people liked, right? Unnecessary evil, if you will. It just kept going. And people kept recommending me. It was a word of mouth thing.
Elaborate on servant leader, because I think some people, I believe that's probably the most important most valuable thing you can be in business ownership, entrepreneurship, in network building, and anything, being a servant leader. But I think a lot of people get that confused.
Yeah, I think that it sounds funny. Like, what is this, a religious thing? What's servant leader mean? But to me, I enjoy serving other people. Now, even whether I was a personal coach or a nutritionist or any form of business, you're serving other people, and you're a leader in it as well. So I just tied them together as what it's called. I have always enjoyed protecting other people, being, as you say, a peacekeeper, if you will. But I think being a servant leader is applicable to any walk of life.
They say that the alpha wolf leads from behind, right? Like, wants to make sure everybody's taken care of, wants to make sure his pack is safe. And when I think of servant leader, that's what I think of.
Agree. And one I learned in the Marine Corps is the same concept: is leaders eat last. Mm-hmm. All the troops, so everyone at lower ranks eat first, because they're going to be providing something that you're not going to be able to. You're going to lead them, but they need to be fully nourished, ready to go at any given time.
So as you get into that, and we talked about this again at lunch, is being able to kind of like sit in the back and do your job, but it's obvious people gravitate towards you. It's obvious that you are the type of person that people want to warm up to. There's something about you. I know that was the way it was for me. Yeah. Right. When I first met you at, I think it was Jay's event, right? Like, I was like, man, I got to know this guy. And, I think, some people just have that charisma. Yeah. Some people have that warmth. But I think that, we talked about our dads, and that was a big impact for both of us to be able to have that warmth. And
100%.
And, but, a lot of people They don't have that. Most people don't have charisma. Jay and I talked about this actually not too long ago, that like only like 1% of people have real charisma.
Right.
And people that want to get out of their shell more, people that want to establish connections with people, like what do you tell them? Where do you tell them to start?
You know, part of it, I think, is in our DNA based on how I saw my father conduct himself and how he led, you know, the Boy Scouts and different things. I observed him and how his employees loved working for him. I would go on a job site with him sometimes and see like these guys would work, stay overtime. I mean, of course, they got paid, but they would stay. They weren't watching a clock. But to me, you know, you got to get out. You can't be behind a computer screen. And don't get me wrong. There's moments where I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm like, God, I got to go to another networking event.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want to have relationships, whether it's business or with a significant other. You got to get out and meet people. And I go with no expectations. I don't go to these events thinking, okay, I'm going to make a business deal or anything's going to come of it. Maybe I'll meet someone cool. Like we met at Jay's event, and even from Jay's group, I met 3 or 4 guys. They're just all super cool people. And maybe nothing will ever come of it. And that's the other thing. I have a mindset. I don't go with the expectation of I need to get more clients because I'm a coach. I need to sell more nutrition bars. I just go with the meet people, cool people. And if something great comes of it, great. If not, I was telling a friend of mine, I got a text from someone I had 4 years ago. He said, Bruce, I don't know if you remember me. We met 4 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, of course I remember him because I had it saved. But we met with no expectations. And 4 years later, we might do something together.
Mm.
You know, I think it's a good mindset to have. People sometimes go out, feel like I gotta leave with a client, you know.
Yeah, instead leave with a lasting impression.
Yeah, and something else will come of it. I mean, I practice when I speak. I say this. It's one of my sayings. Is I like bringing value to other people. I truly do, and I have no expectations in return. No one will ever accuse me. I will always make more deposits with you than I'll withdraw. Because and I think also it makes me feel better as a person that I wasn't a taker. I'm always a giver. You know.
One of the things is that you're known for doing private security for Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
That was, you know, when she was married to a big music executive, that came serendipitously from my friend Charlie, and we started doing work together, and it was interesting. Once again, another client who I spent multiple years with, multiple trips, video shoots in Puerto Rico, but very limited conversation. And once again, I had a unique ability to be connected to them without having verbal conversation. And it's hard for people to grasp because I have guys have worked with me or for me. And normally, you know, you're traveling with a client like that. And after, you know, said, hey, you know, join us for dinner. I'll say, no, thank you. I'll be at the bar. That's the same response I have 10 years after working with somebody. I'll never sit at the dinner table with them. I realize once again, I'm serving them. I'm not part of the circle, so I've always had this distance, but yet they feel very close to me to the point where people will confide in me, but it's almost like a one-way conversation. It's like they're telling me things and I'm just like, oh, absolutely, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't really ever want to cross that bridge, but you end up connecting with people without saying a lot, if that makes sense.
Well, 100%. Being able to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the hardest thing for most people to do.
And I hope I could share this with you because one of the skills I learned is listening to people with the intent to understand. And it all came from a very rough way and experience. If I could share this with you, it was my first day as a police officer. I'm in roll call and they call my name, Cardenas, you're with Bob. And I look up and there's this crotchety old guy in the front row, like he's already got 25 years on a job. I get out of roll call and I'm standing at the equipment room. You check out all your, you know, taser and all that stuff. And he walks right by me and says, I'll see you in the parking lot. It doesn't even say, hello, I'm Bob, right? We get out of the parking lot. I'm hauling all this stuff. I get in the passenger seat and he's sitting between us is a notepad. And he drew this face, a big circle with 2 big ears, 2 big eyes, and no mouth. And he said, you know what that is? No, sir. He goes, that's you. A lot of looking and listening, and I don't need you talking. Are we clear? Yes, sir. Because I'm right out of the Marine Corps, and I'm like, shit, here we go again. I'm back in the fucking Marine Corps. And this guy's no joke. And as we warmed up, and it's literally single greatest skill I've learned to this date. After we warmed up, he said, listen, I need you to understand something because your listening skills are going to keep us alive. He goes, domestic violence calls, he goes, you need to listen to people. Don't listen with the intent to reply. Listen to the intent to understand what we're dealing with. No matter where we are, listen to what's going on. And I got to tell you, whether it's personal or business, and you know, what's that cliche thing? Women's biggest complaint about men, they don't listen, right? I listen to everyone and I evaluate. So it's even to this day, it's my greatest skill, I think.
Man, I need to learn that better, but most people do.
Most people, yeah. I have friends, and don't get me wrong. There's a big difference. One of my good friends, and he can't listen. He's always overriding me in conversation. I said, and I tried to explain to him, there's a difference if we're just a group of guys at a restaurant all bantering. That's different. You're all overriding each other, talking shit. But when you're truly talking to a customer or a client or a vendor, listen to what they're saying. And sometimes people can't. Salespeople are almost famous for that. They hear what they want to hear and then spin it a different way.
Shitty salespeople.
Yeah, shitty salespeople. Yeah, not in general, good salespeople. So to me, that's just been, if someone asked me that, what skill set you have to bring to the world is the ability to listen.
Sometimes being on the receiving end of it it's so foreign to you. You know, I have a number of friends who are really good listeners, and it's a skill that I've been working on for myself. And it's almost like you're so used to being with people who are trying to get the next word out, that when somebody does listen, you're like, you almost are like, did you hear me? And
you're so spot on, because there's people in my life that, yeah, there are certain people you already know because you see their mouth moving before you're done talking. You know, they're already spitting out a reply. And yeah, I have to adjust accordingly where I'm around.
I once actually had told Jay to hold me accountable for that. Yeah. So I was like, I know that I do that. And I've gotten way better at it, but I literally had to tell him. And one time on a podcast, he even said, "You're fucking doing it again." And I remember that day, and ever since then, I think that was one of the moments that it was like, I gotta get better at that. Okay, so moving forward, then, getting into like nutrition and all of that.
Completely serendipitous.
Seems like that's how it goes for you.
Like, you know what? I use that. It's one of my favorite words. I've led a fairly serendipitous life. I only ended up in the Marine Corps because I wanted to be a cop in my hometown, and I went to the chief one day after high school, 5-man department, little tiny. I said, "What do I need to join the department?" He said, "Listen, you're young, dumb, and immature, basically." I don't think he called me dumb, but I had to go to summer school to get my diploma. But he said, "If you go in the Marine Corps, I'll hire you when you get out." So that caused me to go in the Marine Corps. But I never did get well with tests, and I serendipitously, because my boss in the Marine Corps liked me. For whatever reason he liked me, he recommended me for this assignment, which was protection. And then with LAPD, like, my boss liked me. I use the word "like me," but they'd always say, "Bruce, there's something about you." And I'm on these special assignments, and I don't think I'm doing anything any different than anybody else. I'm just another guy in line. But I've always had these serendipitous encounters where things just have evolved. And with Quest, I'm in the gym one day, and there's a woman named Shannon Penna. She goes by Quest Creator on Instagram. Small talk, gym acquaintances, right? And her husband works out there too. And she offered me a couple of protein bars one day and said, "Oh, I've been making these in my kitchen, and my husband's figured out how to commercialize it. We have a small company." And after trying them, I saw the next week at one, like ate them in front of her. And I said, "Those bars are phenomenal. The taste, texture, ingredients. Wow." And I've always been that hobbyist bodybuilder, wanted next Arnold, thinking I was going to be next Arnold when I was a kid. And I remember saying to her, because she has such great energy and vibe, talking about how passionate she was about these products. I said, I'm doing security next week at a celebrity golf tournament. I don't know what I could do with your product, but I could probably get it in the publicist's hands. I can't do it because I'm doing protection. Got it in some people's hands before social media. My friend was doing the red carpet. She was, "I'll do one better. I'll get people to try it on camera." And all of a sudden, people are posting blogs about it. And I go back and show Shannon, and she's like, "Wait, how do you know these people?" I said, "Well, that's what I do for a living. I protect people." And a 9-month relationship started where I was got brought to the set of Extra with Mario Lopez. The early days of the Kardashian shows, I give it to production, and it was on the set. You'd see it. If you go back and find the early shows, it's on the set. And Ron, Shannon's husband, took me to lunch one day and said, "Hey, we feel like we're stealing from you." "What? You've been helping us, bringing us all this value, Bruce, and we're doing nothing in return." And I remember telling Ron, "I get free protein bars." Which he laughed. And that started our relationship. He said, "No, you've been bringing us value. We're going to put you on the payroll." And I said, "I don't need your money." I was doing quite well in the protector, quite well. He said, well, you can give it to charity, do whatever you want. And I best describe it like this because I hope everyone in life has had a why and purpose at least once. Why, and it became a why and purpose for me. We went from being a protein bar company to a mission-based company. I fell in love with the whole process, changing people's lives. And if you could go back and read these emails, people would write us and say, I've lost 30 pounds over the last 3 months because it was my go-to snack. I've got diabetes, my blood sugar doesn't spike. All these health benefits. I'm like, wow, it's not just a protein bar company. People are like, we're changing their lives. And it just became an obsession. I became obsessed with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. Sorry.
But the biggest thing is, and I think a lot of the people who watch this are people that are starting off becoming entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And the most valuable thing that I heard for people that are listening to this is you were bringing value without expectations.
Correct.
And that's, again, going back to being a servant leader. But the level of value that you brought to that, I mean, it's quite possible that you made that company what it is today.
There was definitely a lot of factors, obviously the product and the team, but I always say this, and because I never am that guy, I always say it like this. Imagine like a spoke, a bicycle wheel, right? There's spokes. I was one spoke in the wheel. Maybe
sure, but a product put in the right people's hands.
Oh yeah. I don't know what percentage. I'm very like low key about that.
Yeah,
but I was a spoke in the wheel that to success. Yeah.
But had you gone at it with a different intention, other than just like cultivating a friendship and whatever, it might have gone the other way. It probably would have gone the
night
other
and day
way.
Because I was in my 40s when I met them. Can you imagine? I walked into a nutrition company and said, "Here's my resume. I was a Marine and a cop." What qualifications do you have in a nutrition company? I always say this in my own funny way: is I was the least qualified person to work in a nutrition company, but yet I was the most qualified because it was all relationship. It had really nothing to do with the product. It was relationships.
That's probably the second most valuable thing.
Yeah. And I mean, the product spoke for itself, but it wasn't like, even to this day with the other company, I end up in places where they will even see me on social media and say, wait, how are you hanging out with Gary Vee in a green room? How are you with Bedros Keuilian at a boot camp? Why are you know what I mean? Like I've now mastered the relationship game where, but it's all been relationships. I mean, how was I on music videos early on with Quest bars? It's just because I built relationships. They weren't your traditional avenue. You know what I mean?
No. But I think someone going into things with that mindset, with those intentions, I think people they underestimate, I guess, how valuable that can be for your life.
100%.
This is why this podcast was important to me. This is why today was important to me, because I strive to be like you. Right. I love relationship building. I believe I'm a master networker. I believe that I'm a unifier I'm a community builder. I've done that, but I believe I'm more of a unifier than a community builder. But at the same time, when I meet men like you, and there's very few that are like you, just so you know, and I've met a lot of people. I've had some great people on this podcast, but those levels of intentions to me, I've recognized that anytime I've gone into anything with anything but what exactly you're talking about, I completely shit the bed. And anytime that I went into something with being servant leader and just seeing how much value I can bring for free.
Yeah.
I've always had the most opportunity, made the most money, built reputation, and all of it.
Yeah.
And so when I first heard your story, it was like, it was so inspirational is maybe a word for me. But I think it was also like, I need to attach myself to those reasons, those skills. And yeah, so I just want you to know that, like, that today. And I was talking to Freddie before the other day when we knew you were coming, which was like probably yesterday or the day before.
Right, yeah.
That I was like, this one's important, because I know that your intention, that your style of communication, that the way that you show up, is the most valuable way that you can show up if you're trying to be a business owner, entrepreneur, even an entrepreneur, anything. If you can go at that level of intention, if you can go at that level with servant leadership, that you can be successful, and it'll blow your mind the connections that you will make.
Yeah, absolutely.
But moving forward into Legendary.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
But I do want to tell people this, even because, there was a lot of things. Oh, you guys got lucky that I was use the word entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur inside the organization, not an entrepreneur, but with an I, because it was all virgin territory. The guys, they came from the tech space. They had this protein bar, and they said, listen, we got 99 problems. Help get problems off our plate. Don't bring problems to us. So we built out these departments. I tell everyone, even if you're a W-2 employee in a corporation, you could still be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Most people show up at their cubicle, 9 to 5. Let me get out of here 5 o'clock. What's wrong with turning to the guy next to you? Hey, I see you're in marketing. Can I help you with marketing? Can I help you with research and development? There are opportunities there, and that's what I did. I didn't care what department it was. I said, what do we need to help? What do we need to build? There was days I would have a hairnet on with a lab coat making product because the machinery broke down. It wasn't really my job, but I did it because I knew it was the end result of our success.
Yeah.
But with Legend, you want to tell you about Legend real quick?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so...
you guys are making waves.
So Quest, it was so fortunate, it was sold at $1 billion cash, which is a unicorn, which is rare in business, to Atkins, and it's coming up on 5 years. But Ron had the foresight. It's interesting. A year before we sold, we had investment money, so we knew we were selling. He got the investors we started just making nut butters and seasoned nuts because we couldn't do protein because of a non-compete, right? Mm. So I was helping them build Legendary while we were still in the process of exiting Quest. And one thing, I don't know if he ever really said it, but here's what I concluded. Ron's a genius. He was the founder. He said, we're starting this other company called Legendary Foods. He goes, but we're going to start out poor again. To forget the Quest success. I don't know if this company is going to work. I think it will. We worked out of his house. We didn't have a big shiny office. And I remember something very distinct.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
So you exited out for $1 billion and then started back out of the house.
Homeless. Like literally.
Who does that?
Yeah. Most people would be like, let's get a big shiny on the beach and overlook the ocean and piss a lot of money away with leases and stuff. No, he said, listen, we're going to work out of he moved and we worked out of his old house, and there were 6 or 7 of us in his house. And I would go to Pasadena and I would be making nut butters in a lab coat. And I'm thinking to myself, shit, we just sold this company for $1 billion and we're back to the grind. Ron had an interesting conversation. I share this with people because it's really important for people to know. He asked all of us individually, not as a group, but he said, hey, let me know how much money you need to make. Ron said, I'm funding the entire company. And I guess everyone presented him a number. I didn't know what they were. And I wrote him an email and said, hey, I've seen this movie before. I said, I don't need any money. I'm good. Like knowing that he's starting out, right? And I had been paid, so it's not like other people said, oh, I need $10,000, $20,000 a month. I got 2 kids. They made their problems his problems, right? Instead of sucking it up because they got rich too, right? But so anyway, fast forward, none of those people, they're all gone. They all ran their course because money was the deciding factor in their life as opposed to success. So now we're, 6 years into this journey, and I will say this. I mean, I'm going to make a prediction. We'll be evaluated bigger than Quest.
Yeah.
I mean, then now people can't say you got lucky. Now it's like, okay, you figured out. You figured out this formula.
Yeah.
And Legendary is a more relatable food. I mean, if you grew up in the States, everyone's had a Pop-Tart, a sweet roll, donuts, and we're making just foods that are more relatable. Like I say it like this, you walk into a 7-Eleven, man, I'd love to buy a bag of Twinkies and whatever, Yo-Hos and all the shit you want to eat, but we're making things that are like that, but healthy.
The branding is exceptional.
Yeah.
It's a vibe. And it's funny, the other day when I was down at the Wadapalooza, the TYR event.
We just missed each other, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I texted you right away.
Yeah.
But walking right up to it, like it was so familiar. And it's not familiar because I know you, of course, that's a big part of it. But but it's, before I even knew you, I knew the brand because it was Pop-Tarts and it was exciting to look at. And then you open it up and it's good.
Yeah, I mean, and I always tell people this, listen, whole food, as we talked about lunch, you're a single food kind of, I'm the same way. I mean, it's a healthier option then. When you're traveling on the go, it's better than grabbing a Twinkie. It's like, oh, I have a healthier option. I got 20 grams of protein, you know?
Yeah.
We're filling that American void where, as we know, what's the percentage? 60% of Americans are obese or over. I mean, it's a crazy number. So it's an option.
It's an option.
And we have some, probably going to be our most successful product besides the donuts, which just launches. We have protein macaroni and cheese coming out. And I swear to God, it tastes like Kraft macaroni and cheese, but protein.
Regardless if it doesn't match like our whole food diet and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? It's what Weight Watchers could never be.
Yeah.
It's what so many, like, it's such a needed, because it plants seeds.
Sure.
It gets people considering healthier options. And it's, if you're on the go, it's fantastic too. But I like to look at it as like what it does for like people and kids.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Kids. Oh, I have moms send me pictures. You know, we convinced ourselves at Quest, because you want to believe everything you do, is protein bars were harder to sell. But now I have moms sending me pictures of their 2-year-old gnawing on our donut and said, I tricked him eating 10 grams of protein for breakfast. It's kind of, or 20 grams, you know, so it's fun. It's fun now. And I always say this, I'm glad I never got in the canned corn business. It's always been cool food, right? You know, I don't know, but it's fun. It's like kind of sexy, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then plus, you know, again, it's such a positive company and such a positive environment and a positive space. The fitness industry, that's why I love the fitness industry and the nutrition industry, is because it is all about personal development.
Yeah. And we, you know, Quest started in the bodybuilding space and we've never left. We've been very loyal to the fitness community because a lot of them are coaches, nutritionists, and they know that's been our core since day one.
Quest is the best protein bar out there, in my opinion, like the best tasting. That was my favorite. If I was on a go gas station, that would be the Go Quest cookies and cream.
Yeah, oh my God, that was the number 2 seller. And now protein bars have evolved. Now there's a lot of people making Quest bar knockoffs, and there's other and a lot of them are really good now. But Quest really laid the foundation for that.
Yeah, if I was struggling and needed to break my diet, I would go for a Quest.
Yeah,
that would be my first go-to. And legendary stuff. I mean, I have legendary stuff coming out of my ears thanks to you still to this day, from our last event. Yeah. And it's funny because like I'm like I can't even touch one because I'll just you know, I'm an addict. I'll go down all of them. Man, I think that anybody listening to this needs to understand that, like, you know, you come from humble beginnings. You know, you've built what you've built for yourself based on relationship building, based on being a person who is a servant leader, right? Who has the right intentions and all of that. And if you could tell somebody who's like, you know, just unhappy with their life, unhappy with, you know, where they're at in their, let's say in their 30s, you know, what's the biggest thing that you would tell them?
I will say this. I think I've been fortunate to have several whys and purposes in my life. We talked about this lunch. Some people just go through the motions. They make their salary, they go on a 2-week vacation, and they just go through motions of life. I would say, think about what you really want to do. And I'm not saying quit your job and go paint at the beach. I'm saying, but if everything I've done has started out as a side hustle, and if you're really not happy with maybe your life, that's a different story, but maybe your occupation, figure out maybe there's something you can do on the side to start, whether it's real estate, coaching, whatever, you know, and start that. But also think about what you really want to do with your life, because as you know, we're going to eventually be 40, 50, 60, 70 and say, wow, why did I stay in that factory for 50 years when I really wanted to be a landscaper, gardener, whatever it is, you know. And I think now is the greatest time in the world if you want to create wealth or independence. I see kids now using AI, making websites at 18 years old, selling third-party stuff on Amazon. The opportunities for a younger generation are far greater than when we had it for creating businesses or opportunities. You know, I don't know if I have an answer for overall happiness. I mean, to me, the gym makes me happy, but I encourage people to find their why and purpose in life.
Yeah, I think most people in their 30s now are caught up in they work.
They just work, yeah.
And they just work.
Yeah.
And so their level of happiness is determined by their employment.
Yeah.
Which is so fucking sad.
It really is, yeah. And that's a high percentage of the population, unfortunately.
I follow a guy who I've actually been able to mentor. And he does online coaching. And he puts a poll out that says, Would you rather make $150,000 and clock in every single day for the rest of your life, or would you rather make $80,000 and work for yourself? And now he obviously doesn't live in California because that number would
Right,
be.
yeah.
But I always thought that was so interesting because when I went all in on myself, my earning opportunity at the time, I could not forecast what my earning opportunity was. It was a huge risk.
Right, yeah.
Where I knew what my earning opportunity was in the career that I literally was born into. So taking that jump, I had to like think to myself, like, okay, well, if I'm only able to make this much money, is the freedom that valuable to me?
Worth it, yeah.
And I think a lot of people are faced with that.
For sure, yeah.
You know, what's more important? It's not even financial freedom because you can design your life to fit your financial circumstance. But is time freedom as valuable to people as they think, or it's funny because how many conversations I've had with people that have like fucking worked their ass off to get to like $250,000 a year, and that's like their cap. And then they get to that point and they realize that the debt that accumulates throughout them, like with their lifestyle, it ends up being the same as when they were making 100,000 a year.
Exactly. There's a study, I don't know the real number, they say 70,000 is a zone where a lot of people are comfortable, like they could pay their bills, their mortgage, I don't know that's an interesting conversation. I say this, all money does is facilitate things in life. I know some miserable people that make $10 million a year. And I know people like Gary Vee said, they're $60,000 a year. They're happy as can be. Their life is phenomenal. I would gear more towards that guy making 80,000 and having freedom, all day long. Maybe not in living around here, but
80,000 might be on the beach.
Yeah, right, yeah, in an Airstream. But yeah, that's a complex conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. I always think.
But I think starting the side hustle is key. Like seriously, because then maybe you feel it out. It's okay. I could do this. I can make this happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm heavy on time. That's like it's because when you grew up heavy in the career world and mixed with being an alcoholic addict. My book coming out, and I don't plug it much because I'm a little bashful about it, but it's called Wasted Time.
Wasted time. Okay. Mm-hmm. You feel you wasted a lot of time? Okay.
Especially knowing that I was somewhat talented.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many people that are far more talented than I am that are just wasting their time.
And probably for a lot of reasons, self-doubt, insecurity. I mean, addiction obviously would derail that, but there's a lot of things I think people don't just, I call it step off the curb and say, let me try this, let me do that.
Yeah.
Let me get out of my comfort zone. And, I've learned a lot of things over this journey because self-doubt caused me not to write a book, not to speak in public. And Tim Grover, I was going to all these events, but I was always just invited backstage because bringing protein bars and all the hosts knew me and it was cool. I'm hanging out. And I remember Tim Grover got to know me just peripheral, knew I was a cop, Marine, and he overheard some of my stuff saying, and I must have said to him in front of him, I want to eventually speak like these guys are. And I remember it was a wake-up call for me. He said, hey, I keep hearing you talk about speaking. He goes, why aren't you? He said, next time I see you, and he's a no-nonsense, stoic guy.
Yeah.
Next time I see you, I want you to have a speaking gig. And I saw him a few months later, and I got a gig. And he said, I've talked about you several times, Bruce, to my manager. He goes, you were a Marine. You were a cop. You've been involved in life and death things. And you're so nervous about what 300 people in an audience think about you. He goes, does it really matter? He goes, you just go out and be you. And he goes, and remember this, whatever story you tell, you think if you skip or miss a chapter, they're going to know you're just telling your story. So it really caused me to realize, I have my story to share and I need to be confident enough to do it.
What was your biggest fear with that?
I don't know, just judgment. What are people going to think about you? Oh my God, look at this guy. Like, who does he think he is? Or whatever we create in those scenarios are all in my brain. They were all in my brain.
That's called allodaxophobia.
Is that what it is now?
There's a name for it. That's the most common fear.
Oh yeah, for sure. They say people would rather die than speak in public. And I finally, Pedro's cool and gave me a break. I spoke at his BK Live 2 years ago, and big, about 500 or 600 people. And I practiced. I had a coach like for 3 times a week, and I got out there, and I remember I thought I did okay. I didn't know, and I left the stage, and people were coming up to me all day, and I don't solicit, hey, how did I do? But people were coming up to me saying, you were the most authentic speaker. And even Pedro said, yeah, you were like genuine. He goes, some people are trying to read a PowerPoint and sound all corporate. He goes, you were just an authentic dude.
You want to know something?
Yeah.
I heard that.
Did you?
Yeah. It got back to me that you killed it.
Yeah. And I just was like, I just told my story, and I want to share nuggets, but I just realized you just have to be authentically who you are. And
yeah,
it's not going to work for everybody, but.
Yeah. I forget when it came up, but it came up and someone said that they saw you at his live event and that you crushed it.
Yeah, it was definitely, that was like a turning point for me. Like, oh, okay, I could do this. Yeah.
Did it make you want to continue to do it a lot more, or was it just like if it comes up, it comes up?
If it comes up, it wasn't like I'm trying to be Tony Robbins. I mean, if it comes up, it was cool. You know, I admire people that do it. I'm like, wow, these people wow, that's phenomenal. I like more opportunities, but they're there. If they're there, you got to pursue them, right?
That's how I am.
And I think if my book, maybe that'll help bring some opportunities. But yeah, if they're there, they're there. But I admire people that do it, especially when they're good and they're like, not, there's a certain unique speaker I like. Someone that's not trying to sell everything and, because I think your story is going to resonate with someone, and maybe it's going to keep someone from doing bad things, pursuing a better career, whatever, being a better husband, wife, or whatever. If you could share, my takeaway now is if I speak to an audience and I could sway one or influence one person to do some better things in life, then we've done our job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are only looking for the one person.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can relate to you there though. It's funny, like even like acting, like when I've gotten acting opportunities, like were never when I was looking for them.
Yeah.
And then it comes up and you're like, okay. And then it's cool. But then you're like, okay, do I really want to do that again? Yeah, I guess if it comes up, but I'm not going to pursue it. Like,
yeah. But when it comes up, it's like, oh, that's cool.
I feel like it's the times when you are like overly pursuing something that you get,
it doesn't work.
Jammed up.
Yeah.
So how do people find you?
I guess Instagram is the new way, right? It was been Bruce E. Cardenas. And then I have a website, brucecardenas.com, which, as we talked at lunch, I have a course being built out. The book's going to come out. And I want to pursue that. I was very honest. I don't know if I want to be a coach of coaches, but I want to maybe help people fast track their life, or maybe I want to help people that are younger figure out what they want to do sooner and get there faster. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. And if my goal is this, if I even handled or coached or helped a few people, that's cool. Yeah. That's my goal.
You 100% should.
Yeah.
Especially with the book. I think that's brilliant. And we'll put all of your links and everything.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Cause I'm sure you meet people too. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you want to do this? What do we got to do? Get over that hump. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you should.
Yeah.
I have some ideas.
Yeah. I appreciate it. And by the way, money, it's interesting. I meet people all the time. Well, I don't have any money. Listen, I remind people all the time. Shannon Penna was making protein bars in her kitchen for free. Mm-hmm. You buy the ingredients, right? You don't have to. If you're going to start a business, you don't need to go out and buy a new pickup truck as your new construction. Use your car. Mm-hmm. If you want to do a protein bar, make them in your kitchen. You don't need to pay someone $100,000 to make protein bars for you. Just start out somewhere.
Yeah.
People are thinking, I need to raise money, which is a new thing too. I'm raising money for a company. For what?
Right.
Just start.
Right. Or saving money.
Save your money or start or, crazy.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys like this, make sure you click subscribe. We're going to put all of Bruce's information down below. I would definitely suggest following him on social media, catching him at different events and things like that. We appreciate you once again. Thank you for tuning into the Justin Wenzel podcast. We are out.